Well, hello, everyone. I'm Tyler Chrestman, and welcome to the Chrestman Conversation. Today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about this recent spat of Southwest Airlines canceling a whole bunch of flights. Now, this past weekend, it was in the news, a pretty big story, so you may have seen some of it. But for those of you who didn't manage to catch any of it, we're going to go over some of it right now. On Saturday, the 9th, and Sunday the 10th, all over the country, Southwest Airlines canceled roughly 1,800 flights. I don't actually have the final number here in front of me, but it was over 1,800, somewhere between 1,800 and 2,000 flights. Now, Southwest Airlines initially came out and blamed poor weather conditions in Florida, but that is a misleading statement to say the least. Now, the FAA came out and said that the Jacksonville Air Traffic Control, which apparently controls 5 states, had some slight hiccups on Friday of last week, but they said that that was not the reason why Southwest was having issues. Other airlines were just fine, by the way. They had way less cancellations than Southwest. So, for example, American Airlines canceled 63 flights, which represented a total of 2% of their planned departure. Spirit Airlines canceled 32 flights, which represents about 4% of their planned departures. Southwest canceled over 1,800 flights, which represented roughly 27% of all their planned departures. So, if everyone experienced a problem, looking at a 2 to 4% cancellation rate would seem to explain that. But the weather in Florida doesn't explain a 27% cancellation of all Southwest flights. So, what is the deal? What is happening? Well, on Monday of last week, Monday, October 4th, Southwest announced that all their employees were going to be required to be vaccinated against COVID-19. That just happened last Monday. And then on Friday the 8th, 4 days after this, you had the mysterious rash of cancelizations. On Friday the 8th, actually, you had one day before the cancellations, Southwest Airlines Pilot Association, also known as SWAPA, I think, as some people have said, the Southwest Airlines Pilot Association, which is the union that represents pilots for Southwest, they filed legal documents seeking to halt the vaccine mandates. They stated in their legal brief, this is the quote from the brief, "The new vaccine mandate unlawfully imposes new conditions of employment, and the new policy threatens termination of any pilot not fully vaccinated by December 8th, 2021. Southwest Airlines' additional new and unilateral modification of the parties' collective bargaining agreement is in clear violation of the RLA." That is, end quote. Now, this group, this Pilots Association, represents roughly 10,000 pilots that fly for Southwest. I think they also represent a couple other organizations, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I don't know how many pilots Southwest has. They have 10,000. That seems like quite a lot, but that would make sense, I guess, if they have 1,800 flights a day. What would that be? 1,800 would represent 27%. So let's round up to 2,000. Say they do like 10,000 flights a day. I guess that would make sense. So the leaders of SWAPA, the Pilots Association, they stated that they are not striking, and they instead blamed the airline's poor planning abilities for this cancellation. They said that there was no official strike, and there was certainly no unofficial strike. Okay, now that seems like it's not true. That seems, again, that seems as misleading as Southwest initially saying that it was just weather. The Southwest airline pilots, this is pushback from the pilots. And let me say this, I am in full-throated support. I will scream at the top of my lungs in support of these guys, and this is one of the first major stands that we've seen against these mandates, and I'm all about it. I think that it is great. These vaccine mandates are tyrannical in the extreme, and I am glad to finally see some pushback. It's important to say this. People have thrown the title of anti-vaxxer at me or anti-science, and I think that this is just ridiculous nonsense. I'm very pro-vaccine, If you are in a risky category, I think you should get it. Everyone over the age of 40 should probably be vaccinated, or at least 50. If you're over the age of 50, you should probably get vaccinated. If you are obese, you should probably be vaccinated. If you have underlying medical conditions such as diabetes or heart disease, you should probably be vaccinated. I think that's great. But I am also a firm believer in your right to do what you want with your body. So if you do not want to get vaccinated, do not get vaccinated. That seems perfectly fine to me. I don't care. Why would I care? And why would anyone who is vaccinated care? It makes no sense. We've gone through that before. The rates of vaccination the rates of hospitalization and death post-vaccination are so small that they might as well be non-existent. So the unvaccinated are no threat to the vaccinated. Go live your life. Quit trying to control other people. The government right now is attempting to extort people in the United States through a very coercive means. It is despicable. Now, you'll hear morons on the other side of this argument who will try and flip my position around, or the libertarian position back around on libertarians. They'll say something along the lines of, well, private businesses have the right to dictate conditions of their employment. You don't have to work there. You can choose to leave. That's your freedom. This is not really true, because this isn't what's happening here. This is not an employer-employee relationship where you go in and you agree to terms of conditions for your employment. You get a job, you work the job, everyone's happy. They give you money for the job. That's your agreement. This is the federal government inserting itself into that agreement, forcing the businesses to do what they want, and then having the consequences rain down on you. So they're threatening to withhold money from businesses that do not do as they wish. They are forcing the people at the bottom to choose between collecting a paycheck or getting a vaccine against their will. That is not freedom. There are many people in this country who do not have the luxury or the savings to make this choice. It's an illusion of a choice. It's as though you put a divider down a hallway and said, pick a side. It both leads to the same end. It's an illusion. It's not a real choice, and that's why this is not real freedom. You don't get to make a libertarian case for the government extorting people. It doesn't work that way. So if the government comes and takes food off your table because you're misbehaving, it's disgusting. And I am very proud of the Southwest pilots for not tolerating it. The same thing can be said for healthcare workers. Healthcare workers were praised for the past year and a half. People called them healthcare heroes. They would thank them for their service. You know, the nurses and doctors, the EMTs, the paramedics, firefighters, all these people who were in the first line against COVID. But now employees are being fired because they're refusing to get vaccinated. We don't care about these people. I mean, I care about these people. Joe Biden doesn't care about these people. The liberals who think that vaccine mandates are appropriate don't care about these people. They're just, oh, look at the numbers have gone up of vaccinated people. Who gives a shit? Why do you care so much? Who's vaccinated and who's not? It doesn't concern you once you're vaccinated. What other people do is not your concern. If the vaccinated can still spread COVID, which is true, the Delta variant had such a viral load that the vaccinated can still spread COVID, then what is the point? Why are you only concerned with the unvaccinated? It does not make sense. There's no science that supports your position to care about the unvaccinated. Doesn't work that way. You don't get to tell other people what to do for their own benefit and then force them to do it because you know what's best for them. Sorry, that doesn't make you a good person. That makes you the bad guy in this scenario. So these healthcare workers who are now being fired, they're being let go from their job. Their contracts are being terminated for refusing to be vaccinated. Joe Biden comes out and says, it's only a tiny percentage of people who are going to lose their job. But tell that to the 22,000 people that Kaiser Permanente just suspended. The 22,000 employees that are now out of a job. Or what about the 120 from the Colorado healthcare system? Or the 600 people who just were fired from United Airlines? These people don't care about your lives. They want to control you. They want to control you because they are monsters. They are tyrannical monsters. They don't care about science. They don't care that the unvaccinated are no threat. They do not care about the efficacy of masks or the vaccines, or how you can say if you are between the ages, if you are 0 to 30, that you probably do not need to get vaccinated because it's not a threat to you, or the risks for the vaccine are as dangerous as the risks for COVID, when Denmark and Finland and Sweden and Norway just banned the Moderna vaccine for any male under the age of 30 because of the side effects of myocarditis and pericarditis. When they do those things and we're not even allowed to talk about it as though the vaccines have no downside, there are no negative consequences of the vaccines. They negative consequences of the vaccine are apparent to people who are looking at the data. On a whole, they are great. If you are in a risk factor, you should get them. They are very effective at what they are doing, but they're not for everyone. Everyone doesn't need to be vaccinated for this. We're never getting to zero COVID. If you still think zero COVID is a possibility, you are mistaken. You are misguided. It is not a real possibility. No serious person thinks that zero COVID is ever going to happen. The people who do that they just don't know what they're talking about at this point. There's no serious public health expert who says, oh yeah, we can still get to zero COVID. We can vaccinate our way to COVID extinction. Never going to happen. You're being a fool. We have to learn to live with it. So, it's so unconscionable to think how little the people who are doing this, quote unquote, for your benefit actually care about what your quality of life is like. Oh, you're out of a job? Well, serves you right. You're a bad person. You didn't get vaccinated. So, you don't deserve to have employment. You don't deserve to put food on the table for your family, your children. Oh, you don't want your kids to go to school? You don't want your kids to get vaccinated? Well, they can't come to school. They don't deserve to be educated. No. They can't even do online classes. Stanford just suspended a student for not getting the vaccine who was an online student because of science, apparently. Quote, unquote, the science. These people are not serious. They're not serious people. We do not have to take them seriously, and we don't have to listen to them. Do your own do your own research. People laugh at that. They say that phrase, oh, what are you going to do, a randomized controlled study? That's not what you mean, you idiots. What we mean is that you can look at a study and draw your own conclusions from the study, not the conclusions that people tell you to draw. See, I can read a study. I'm very capable of it. You're very capable of it. Anyone is. You can read what they find and come to different conclusions than what they came to. You read something, people can lie with data. They do it all the time. There's something called the Simpsons paradox, which if you've never heard of it, you should look it up. It's very interesting. And it's a way that when you look at a small subset of data, it can look one way, but when you pull back and examine it in a larger context, it actually means the exact opposite. This is very applicable today. When you look at small data that people cherry pick, it can make you believe anything. What you have to do is take a step back and look at the whole picture. You can do that with things that people are pointing to even and say, well, look at this study out of India that showed whatever. And then you say, okay, that's great, except what you're doing is you're taking one bit of that data. What about when you pull back? You look at all the data. You look at the metadata from many studies, and you make your own conclusions based on all of the available data. It's not that difficult. But they want you to believe their narrative. What they're saying is true. And what they're saying is true is that you need to be vaccinated or your life doesn't matter. Oh, you chose not to get vaccinated? Well, you should go die in the streets. People are saying that you should not get priority at hospitals because you're unvaccinated. Oh, I thought that these were the same people who said healthcare is a human right. They want to privatize, or they want to make a nationalized system, but you chose not to do something that they want you to do, so you should die in the gutter. Oh, you should go live in the poorhouse. Who cares if you don't get the job? Who cares that they fired you? I want to show you a video. Dave Rubin of the Rubin Report, which if you guys have never checked that channel out, you should check him out. He's pretty great. He put this video up the other day, and it is just, I want to end with this because it is perfect. It summarizes what these people believe. So let's see if I can pull this up real quick. Okay. So we're just going to watch 2 minutes of this video real quick, and then we're going to leave it there. Listen to these people. Listen to what they want you to do. Listen to how they talk about you and your choices and your freedom.
All of this march towards communism is being fueled by our mainstream media. If you don't believe me, we've got about a 2-minute compilation video from Grabbian Media of the lefties and the media cohorts pushing communism. Enjoy.
No one likes to mandate people to do things that they may not want to do, but sometimes for the greater good of society,
don't trust anyone who uses the phrase greater good.
You got to start telling people, if you don't get vaccinated, you can't come into this office or this place of business.
We really need to make it clear that there are privileges associated with being an American, that if you wish to have these privileges, you need to get vaccinated. Travel and having the right to travel interstate, it's not a constitutional right as far as I know.
Getting vaccinated is not a personal choice. It's not. It's something that we do for the community.
I think that he should approach this with an iron fist.
If you don't get vaccinated, you can't come to work.
People aren't then going to threaten to go to another workplace. If
she is the
workplace
worst.
Has that
I
same
genuinely dislike
that's a
this
good thing. So I don't think it's overreach. I think this is what's needed in the middle of a pandemic. And in fact, I think the Biden administration, if anything, could have gone even further.
And those governors that stand in the way, I think it was very clear from the president's tone today that he will run over them.
If you don't get vaccinated, you can't come into this gym.
Screw your freedom, because with freedom comes obligations and responsibilities.
Your personal choice ends where my right not to get killed by an infectious disease begins. So we have these collective actions for the good of the community, not the individual.
We don't live in a bubble. We live in a community. And that is why there have been a number of instances throughout history where we have made a decision as a society to abide by common rules that protect the common good.
We really have to, think in terms of what is best for society at this point.
If you don't get vaccinated, you can't come into get onto this airplane.
You can stay unvaccinated if you want, but you're not going to be able to travel to see your family.
We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin.
There you have it, the tolerant and diverse and open and freedom-loving and honest and decent lefty media and politicians.
So Dave Rubin, obviously being sarcastic there at the end. That's what they want, people. They just want full control of your life. That's all. They want you to do what they want. Now, the second that you start talking about abortion, well, it's her body, her choice. But you start talking about a vaccine, well, no. Your body, my choice. I get to tell you what to do because I know what's best for you. Just remember that. Anyone who thinks anyone who tells you they know what's best, don't listen to that person. That person's a moron. Make your own conclusions. You're an adult. You're an autonomous human being. You have freedom of will, the best we understand that. And you can make your own informed choices. Don't listen to people. Don't acquiesce to them either. If there's a vaccine mandate and you have the ability and the means, stand up. Stand up against these people. Take a principled stand. It is important that you don't allow yourself to be bullied by tyrants. Authoritarianism doesn't happen in a flash. It doesn't happen with a bang. It happens with a whimper. It happens with a slow crawl, a creep. It comes up one after one after one. You just go along to get along, keep your head down, and eventually you look around and everyone else's head is in the sand and you stand by yourself. And by then it's too late. There's that poem. I think it's a poem. I wish I could remember how it goes, but first they came for the Jews. I'm sure everyone knows it. And that's the way it happens. It happens slowly. And you have to be wary every second. Anyway, we're going to leave it there for the day. I hope everyone enjoyed it. I will catch you guys on the next episode. As always, anyone with any ideas, leave some comments on either the Facebook page or the YouTube, things you want to talk about, things you think would make good videos, whatever, suggestions, comments, questions, concerns, any of it. Just let me know. I'm Tyler Chrestman. I'll catch you guys on the next one.